think that sound is the clock over here. Yes. And then it resets. Anyone who's seen Lost might be getting flashbacks right now looking at that clock. But anyway. The apartment timer. In a previous version of the choice leading to the apartment ending, a timer would give you 15 seconds to pick up the phone. Not picking up the phone would lead to a different ending. That is not the case in the game now, but there is something else that you can do in the phone room, and that is going to lead us to our final ending after this one. Cargo lift. This second version is functionally the same as what's in the final game, but we wanted it to look more like a place where cargo was actually stored. So originally when you got on the lift, this is the place where you could also jump to your death like we did earlier. You would actually go up that rail instead of to the side. However, I will say that this looks more futuristic than the rest of the office, and so this might have been a little jarring if they'd used that particular style. The cargo lift was always intended to offer the choice of staying on or jumping to a different path. However, after this early version, we decided we wanted the option for the player to fall to their death. I can appreciate that. Meeting room. Various options here, or planned options. Maintenance layout. The flow of hallways following the first two doors was important to get right, since players will replay them so many times. We discussed a number of designs, but ultimately it was the simplest version that won out. So I guess that was version number 1? Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, I just want to make sure that we don't miss anything. So we came up around there. Alright, so we want to come this way. Yeah, we'll go over here first. Oh, actually, no, that's towards the exit. I always end up getting turned around. This place is pretty big. Ah, okay, yeah. So here's the other, this is the main hall, so this is the other way that we could have gone. Boss's office. Scenes from the development of the boss's office. So it looks like they had different things that they wanted to say. One was that there really was, either there wasn't a boss at all, or he was incredibly simplistic, I guess. That would have been interesting if you got into the boss's office and it just looked like that. Office clock. Underground, an early version of the underground portion of the game. There's that big sign. This is my control facility. And originally the escape was kind of a more official looking hatch. They made it a little bit more graffiti-like.
Perfect example of poor level design. Textbook.
Kevin Brightning, the voice of the narrator, recorded dialogue for the entire game roughly 3 separate times over 2 years of development. These are clips from early takes that were not used in the final game.
Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you?
So if you want to, you can take time and listen to those outtakes. Almost done here. Freedom ending. This was the very first ending. And this was the first incarnation of the Freedom ending in the game's alpha. So let's do this one next. The Zending. This was the one where we could stay in the ethereal room with the pretty music whenever for as long as we wanted, but the only way to restart the game was to keep jumping off the ledge to kill ourselves. This screenshot depicts an early version of the ending known as the Zending, which was eventually cut and merged with another part of the game. Zending levers. These levers were originally part of the Zending. The player would pull a lever and the narrator would describe what color they had pulled. But we can't actually pull them here. Zending model. The Zending went through many iterations. This room represents the 4th version of the ending, and we thought it was complete, but decided to abandon and change it again shortly before launch. Looks like it would be a very different feel with that. Apologies for my voice, by the way. I think I'm coming down with a slight cold, so I have a little bit of congestion. The escape menu. For a long time, we had an ending that only ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Unfortunately, very few players realized this was what they were supposed to do, which was frustrating for everybody. Okay, I'm going to come up and around, and then that should take us out the exit. Yep, because we've been there. And we've been here. Yep. Just see up here. This is the 3rd and highest tier of the museum. Stanley's office, from left to right, the evolution of Stanley's office over time. The first was created in November 2011, the second in March 2012, and the third in February of 2013. Looks like they continue to add little touches here and there. Game design mock-up. This is the level that William, the level designer, sent Davey, the writer, as a kind of audition piece. The strength of this level got William hired to design the full game. Though much of the environment has changed, the basic layout from this mock-up is still in the game. Yep. That pretty much looks like the same style. Countdown room. An early version of the countdown room, where we could press whatever buttons we want and it wouldn't stop the nuclear detonation. Monitor room elevator. For a time, the elevator in the monitor room could go up or down, with freedom above and countdown below. We abandoned this when players found it too difficult to remember what was up and what was down, and placed the two endings together instead. This is the beta freedom ending look. Countdown desk, one of the desks from an early version of the countdown ending. And I think that's it. So this is kind of cute. You can wander around as the player and just see how they put this stuff together. And sure enough, this is the exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
So I guess we need to turn the Stanley Parable off?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
And at this point, the only thing that you could do is actually go to the menu here and begin the game again.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
So, one of her statements, I think, is very much reminded me of the old saying, the only way to win is not to play. So, the meta-narrator, as I might refer to her as, recognizes that since all of this is planned out, that Stanley really doesn't have any choice, and in fact the player really doesn't have any choice except to not play and just go and live his or her life. Alright, one last ending, and then we will wrap up this Let's Play of the main game.
When Stanley
here.
came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
And this final ending goes down the Defiant path.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
One last look at this amazing room. Goodbye, lounge.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
So we're going to go into the room with the phone, but we're going to do something a little different besides answering it.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
So we could answer the phone to stop it ringing, but there's one other thing we could do to stop it from ringing. We could unplug it.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
Hello.
I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person, but if used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
Unfortunately, I don't have a partner with me right now.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
So apparently, actually making a choice that is not programmed into the game, supposedly, and everything's starting to crash. Notice we now have safety bars all around here because the narrator thinks Stanley is a real person now, and a real person would actually die if they fell from this height.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
So where's the narrator leading us now?
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
Ah, okay.
Now remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
And once again, we have the same theme of, you should be doing what the narrator says, and you shouldn't be making any wrong choices. So you notice we can't go downstairs. There's bars in the way now.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, until he saw the door with a voice receiver next to it. Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
Night Shark 115. And of course, it doesn't work.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
Sorry, can't help you. It's not voice-activated game.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step. Okay, fine, you're not going to do it, but you know what? It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. Behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
And this is actually one of the few cases where you take that one ending and it puts you right back and allows you to try the other way. Which is not, they don't always do that, so it's kind of...
No! Why did you do
that
that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
So this is what happens if you take the right path, is that now you're continuing to make choices that, as far as the narrator's concerned, don't make any realistic sense. And so the game is continuing to deteriorate now.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe, after everything we talked about, that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why? For what? What did you get out of that? What did you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now. And what am I supposed to do? Even if there were a way to continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? What do I... No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to. I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you, who thought you were so clever. Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed. It was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground. What, did you think that would be funny? You just had to see? Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley? He actually knows how to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it. That thought hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child. Oh, My story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it and been victorious. It would have been so perfect. I worked so hard on it. I tried so hard.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley? Hello? Are you... Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice. I need you to walk through the door. Are you listening to me? Can you hear me? Is everything all right? Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it. So, you hear me? Are you there? Are you listening to this? Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
All right, so that was the last ending I wanted to showcase. I believe it's referred to as the Not Stanley ending. It's the ending where we pretend, because in reality, obviously, a person, any particular human being, can't talk to the narrator, but it was a hypothetical situation. What would happen if the narrator actually realized that he wasn't talking to a video game character, but he was talking to an actual human being? At the end of it, we see, I think, the final kind of demonstration of the philosophical problem or tragedy of the Stanley Parable. Stanley sitting there, trying to decide which way to go, the narrator pleading for him to make a choice, and it's left open. Does he make a choice or not? Does it even matter? And that's really probably the largest question that is being asked by the game, as far as video games in general. What is the nature of choice? Does choice have any meaning? And in particular, does choice have any meaning in a video game that has been pre-designed for you? And some people might think that the natural solution to this is emergent gameplay. If you're in sandbox games like EVE Online, where players have more decisions, does that make it a more enriching experience? Do the players actually have more freedom? Or are you still bound by the rules of the game, even if there are fewer of them? And then does it make a difference? Or is all of this just philosophical blathering and all you care about is having fun? Why so serious? But one of the reasons that I really enjoyed this game is that it was really asking these questions in an amusing way, a way that I thought was pretty interesting. And so, like I said, there are a few other smaller Easter egg kind of endings, but these were all of the ones that I really wanted to touch on. And so that pretty much concludes this Let's Play of the Stanley Parable. However, I do plan on producing one more video, and that's going to be for the demo of the game. The reason is, unlike most demos, which showcase a small part of the game, just to entice you, the demo for the Stanley Parable actually has completely separate content that is not directly connected with the game itself. And so it's actually worth it to look at it. That's what I'll be doing in the next video. So, until then, fellow adventurers, take care.